Welcome back. Today we will be discussing about the poem The Daffodils by William Wordsworth, which is a part of Class 10 ICSE syllabus, in which we will study in details about the poet, the theme of the poem, the message delivered by it, the central idea, the justification of the title, the stanza-wise summary of the poem, and the poetic devices used. For your convenience, I have added timestamps in the description so that if you wish to watch any segment again, you can just click on that particular timestamp to go through it. So without any further delay, let's get started. William Wordsworth was an English romantic poet. His magnum opus is generally considered to be the Prelude, a semi-autobiographical poem of his early years that he revised and expanded a number of times. The first and foremost prominent feature of Wordsworth's poems is that it is written in the language really used by men. The second prominent feature of his poetry is his preoccupation with emotion, and in particular what Wordsworth called the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings from emotions recollected in tranquility. Let us discuss the theme. The concept of this poem is about the speaker's joy for the beauty of daffodils and what they mean to him and mankind's relationship to the natural world. The themes of this poem are nature and humanity, memory and imagination. The speaker is a symbol of humanity and the daffodils are the symbol of nature. It is thanks to the beauty of a field of daffodils that the poet chances upon that he is able to leave his feelings of melancholy behind. The message that comes out of this poem is a reverence for the simplistic and yet complex aspect of beauty that is present in this world. Wordsworth's reflection of beauty in the natural world is one that envelops us, one that cannot be easily forgotten. The central idea of the poem? The central idea is that all of us are so caught up in the nitty-gritty of our everyday chores of life that we forget to stop for a moment and take in the beauty of nature. The poet feels that nature has the power to heal one's soul when one is in a melancholy mood, feeling depressed, stressed out, instead of resorting to unhealthy means. The poem tells us that one should pause for a moment, stop endless pursuit for material things, and soak in the beauty of nature. Nature has the power to soothe the stressed out mind and make it calm and cool. Let us check the justification of the title. The title of the poem represents the beauty of nature. Daffodils were the main source of joy and happiness for the poet in the valley because he was wandering like a cloud over the hills, and only the daffodils made him stop and lose himself in their beauty. The poem is about a group of golden daffodils dancing beside the lake and beneath the trees. Wordsworth's poetic persona at some point visited that spot, and he describes how he felt at the sight of those beautiful flowers. The poet metaphorically compares himself to a cloud for describing his thoughtless mental state on that day. Like a cloud, he was wandering in that valley aimlessly. The sudden spark that the daffodils gave to his creative spirit is expressed in this poem. We will now move on to the stanza-wise summary of the poem. Let us begin with stanza 1. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. The poem begins with the poet wandering alone as a cloud. the poet, roamed around like a cloud floating over vales and hills. It was then that the poet saw a large number of golden daffodils beside a lake. The daffodils appeared to the poet as fluttering and dancing happily in the breeze. Stanza 2. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The second stanza describes how beautiful the daffodils looked. The poet has compared them with the continuity of stars that shine and twinkle in the night sky. The daffodils appeared to be stretched endlessly along the margin of a bay. The poet says that these beautiful flowers stood in a never-ending line. It seems that the poet was under an illusion that he was watching 10,000 daffodils swaying their heads in a sprightly dance. Stanza 3. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. The poet goes on to describe the enchanting quality of the daffodils. The waves in the nearby lake seemed to be dancing and also sparkling due to the sun's rays falling on them. But the beauty of the thousands of daffodils surpassed the beauty of the sparkling waves. The poet feels that he could be anything but happy in such a gleeful company. The poet further says that all he could do was to stare at the daffodils, and the sight before him amazed him. The last stanza. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. In the end, the poet tells the readers of the extent to which he was captivated by the beauty of the daffodils. The poet says that whenever he lies down on his couch in a contemplative mood, the memory of the daffodils flashes in his mind and brings him happiness. His loneliness is overtaken by the image of daffodils, which fill his heart with pleasure and make him feel as if he were dancing along with the daffodils. Let us now focus on the literary devices used in the poem. The rhyme scheme used here is AB, AB, C, C. The next literary device that we will discuss is imagery. The poet has used a range of images of lakes, fields, trees, stars and clouds. He compares the golden daffodils to the Milky Way galaxy. The use of colors like white for the clouds, green for hills, blue for lake, silver for stars has been used to depict the beauty of nature. The poem starts in pessimism with the author's loneliness and ends in optimism with the pleasure of watching the daffodils. The next poetic device is alliteration, which is the close repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of the words to facilitate narration. Example: stars that shine, high over vales and hills. The fourth literary device is personification. An inanimate object or an abstract concept is spoken of as though it were endowed with human attributes or feelings. Examples of personification in the poem: a host of golden daffodils, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, tossing their heads in a sprightly dance. The fifth literary device is simile, which is the comparison of one thing with another thing of a different kind, generally used to make a description more emphatic or vivid. Example, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Another example, continuous as the stars that shine. The sixth literary device that we are going to discuss is metaphor, which is a comparison between two different things but not clearly stated. Example, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. The cloud's movement here is compared implicitly to the movement of a boat. The seventh literary device is onomatopoeia, which is the sound of the word which conveys the sense for which it is used. Example of onomatopoeia in the poem, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. The last poetic device is hyperbole, which is an exaggeration of ideas for the sake of emphasis. Example of hyperbole in the poem is 10,000 saw I at a glance. With this, we come to the end of this video. You will be glad to know that my online and offline English coaching classes are going on, and anyone who wishes to get detailed notes of the chapters and the poems is always welcome to join. The details of my online and offline classes are given in the description. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe to get a regular view of my videos.